Hey everyone, thank you for joining me in this video. I'm going to be talking about how much money it takes to go from being an average everyday person to a rich person through real estate. And if you haven't heard the news, I wrote an ebook. It's called Cheap Houses, How I Find and Buy Inexpensive Real Estate. It's available on Amazon or as a PDF directly off a website. There's a link in the description below that should get you there. It's $4.99. If you don't want to pay that, you can go waste your money somewhere else. But if you buy it for $4.99, you're going to make a whole lot more money than that if you actually apply what's in that book. It's guaranteed, or your money back. You could just return it on Amazon if you don't want it. This book, let me read you a little disclaimer real quick. It's not based on what you're paying. As in, my information is not basically, it can't apply to everybody. So let me just continue. It's not based on what you're paying. You have a choice to live where you want and buy what you buy. Also, I can't base my videos on all scenarios. My number one target is blank slates, meaning people who are free to do what they want. They have not already messed up, and they have not already taken on responsibilities that significantly limit what is possible for them. Basically, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. By simply not doing the wrong thing, you will have a much better chance of success. With the slightest bit of forward-thinking action, you are well on your way to wealth. With that said, the second type of viewer that I would most like to watch my videos are people who have messed up. In short, I want to provide information to help people get started, but also help others make corrections. I'll add to that. I basically want to cater to beginners, but then I also consider a beginner somebody who's maybe further along age-wise than a beginner, but they've messed up, and they're going to have to correct some stuff and then get started. So sort of the two extremes. I kind of think the people in the middle sometimes, never mind, I'm not going to go there in this video. I've got a whole other video about that. One of the terms you're going to be hearing me say in this video is median and then average. Sometimes I kind of mean them, interchangeably. But when I say median, I mean median. Because sometimes when you say average, you can really screw up a number. So, what is median? Median is the middle number in a list of sequential numbers. And the advantage over saying average or doing the average number is the outlying numbers don't throw things off. For example, zeros and a billion. If you have 99 people in a room and they all make $50,000 a year, and then in comes the number 100, and that's Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon. All those people who make $50,000 a year, their average income all of a sudden becomes $785 million per year, while the median income would still remain $50,000. So when Bezos walks in with all that Amazon money, he's not going to skew it. So there's a lot of situations where taking the average, which is you add up all the numbers and divide them by how many numbers went into that equation. That's how you get average. So you can see how that really high number or really low numbers will mess that up. So that is meaning that in some cases when people start saying the average this, the average that, most likely they're saying they mean median. Because they're talking about, I'll say, normal, common, average situation. So it's kind of like they're using the term informally. So there will be times in this when I'm just talking that I'll say things informally. But if I say median, I mean median. Let's get started. What is the median income in the United States of America? It's around $60,000. And again, that means median. Not Jeff Bezos gets not excluded in this. So around $60,000, I see the number between like 59 and 61,000 is what it means. So that's, I'll just call it the most normal income in the United States. Then the average household spends around $5,000 a month. So if the median annual income is 60, and the average household spends around $5,000 a month, what is that telling you? People are spending exactly what they're making. And that is an issue, in my opinion. Now we're going to get into my numbers. These are going to be my actual cost of living. This should be gold because I have what I consider very normal cost of living. But then beyond that, I'm still able to do what I do on a, I think, pretty normal income. Couple numbers that aren't mine before I get started. The average, or median, or average, whatever you want to call it, most common mortgage payment, because I don't have a mortgage payment. I own my house outright, so that's not one of my costs. So you can kind of factor this stuff in, and whatever numbers you have, kind of factor those in too. So it might skew my end number just a little bit, but you'll be able to customize these numbers. Housing. The average mortgage payment is $1,100 in the United States. Of course you got people paying a lot more than that. And of course you got people paying a lot less than that. My last house I bought from a man that had a mortgage on it, and he was paying like $300 or $350 a month on a mortgage payment. I know people who have much higher mortgage payments than that. But this really does fall quite in line, I think, with a lot of people that I know, which is around $1,000 to $1,200, and this is dead in the middle of those. And that's like the people that I know personally that have mortgage. Now I know people that do have higher ones, slightly higher ones, like $1,500 a month, but they have more extravagant houses. And this would be an average or median or whatever you want to call it for all of the United States. So this is, the really high numbers aren't skewing this number. But that guy that's got some super crazy high mortgage, he shouldn't have as much of a problem figuring out where he can move some money around and allocate some money for investment property. This is to good old-fashioned average people. Clothing. This blew my mind. The average clothing expenditures monthly is $161 according to Google. I think that's crazy. I don't spend that much money in a year on clothes. Let me tell y'all some little facts real quick. I buy, most of the time, everything I wear comes from Walmart unless somebody else buys it for me. Everything except my pants. My pants came from Kohl's, and they were bought right before some special occasion. But all the jeans you see me wear, they're $12 at Walmart. The only thing I buy is shoes. I buy Clark's boots. I buy usually one pair every 2 to 3 years, depending on how well I take care of them. My wife definitely spends more money on clothes than I do. I mean, I buy like a pair of pants once a year. I buy the same, I just have the same little costume that I just keep buying over and over again from Walmart, which is basically jeans and colored t-shirts and, Walmart socks, Walmart underwear. I buy my Clark's shoes. They're the cheapest ones though. Moving on. The average car payment is between $400 and $550 a month. So I'm leaving those things out. The other number, and I'm going to mention it again probably, is health insurance, because so many people's health insurance is either covered through their jobs or taken out before they get their income, or somebody doesn't make enough money to get it, so they're on some sort of assistance level. And then everybody else like me, you can buy it independently, but a lot of people are covered through the health exchange, and so it gets subsidized down to anywhere between zero and you pay a little bit or some portion of it. So you'll have to add your number onto that. So getting into the actual numbers. Average, monthly, $120 on electricity. Let me say this a little different. Water bill, $50. Food, meaning everything comes from the grocery store, so this could include like baby diapers, about $600 a month. It's almost exactly $600 a month. Internet, $80 a month. Phone, this includes me and my wife, $58 a month. We both have iPhones with unlimited plans. Car insurance, $90 a month. This is for 3 cars with one with full coverage. Phone, I put that in there twice. Life insurance, $100 a month, but that is for my wife and I, and we both have $1 million life insurance policies. Now that may sound really high, but we have a child. I have an income that I'm basically trying to protect. That is the purpose of term life insurance, by the way. 20-year term life insurances. I'm 33 years old. I've had mine for 2 years. So I got it when I was 31. I believe she got hers this year after me. Again, I know those sound like big numbers, but I also own real estate, so my death could be expensive in all of the stuff that has to go on. Life insurance is not there to make you rich. It's there to keep you from being poor, just to be clear. I think a lot of people get it wrong. They're like, "Yolly, you're going to die and your wife's going to get $1 million." Or the other way around. I have it on my wife. I'm making a video about life insurance too eventually. I have it on my wife because while she doesn't work, she takes care of our child, and that would be a very expensive thing for me to figure out if I want to continue doing the stuff that I do. And I don't mean that from a selfish point. I just mean that child care is expensive. There would just be a lot of costs. It would be a terrible thing. Personally, I think it would be not the emotional side of it, but it would be better for me to be the one that ends up dead than my wife, in my personal opinion. And there's a little emotional part in that. I would much rather it happen to me than her if something was going to happen, if I had to pick. Dental insurance, $60 averaged out over the year. This is roughly average. This is just people with decent teeth taking care of themselves, going to the dentist every 6 months, so it averages out to about $60 a month. Insurance on my house, $50 a month. So whatever that is, that's $600 a year, I think, on the house, somewhere around there. I think it's actually about $585, but I just averaged up. All these numbers I rounded up to kind of the next even number just to kind of take care of some potential, like, you mail stuff off, there's an envelope and there's a stamp or whatever you end up doing, or there's a processing payment to something you did. So I average everything up a little bit to take care of that. Real estate tax on the house that I live in, $35 a month. Car tax, so this is property taxes on the car due to the city or county, $87 a month. Crazy. Or is it $87 a year? I might have got that one wrong. It's not going to be enough to make a difference. And then investments, and this is into my Roth IRA, $500 a month. I max that bad boy out, $6,000 a year. So you'll be able to look at these numbers and say, well, I don't have a Roth IRA, I don't care about that, or I ain't got no big life insurance policy, I'm not married, I'm not this. This is for a family of 3, one of the 3 being a baby. So this is what I'm saying, it's just a normal average cost, and even another child added into this mix, it wouldn't change the numbers that much for quite a while. So the total number comes up to $1,890. You can just consider that $2,000 if you want to add in some extra money. That total annually, so this is my annual cost of living minus the real estate stuff, is $22,680 per year. Now there's some costs that I'm leaving out of here. For example, gas. I don't really drive that much. Most everything I do is at my house or on the street that I live in. When my wife has to go out to the grocery store and things like that, it's very short drives, so I'm not even really factoring it in. You can kind of add your driving costs into this. Mine, I mean, I know there's transportation stuff. See, a lot of my driving, it gets written off my taxes, so it's just not something that I even think about. So you can add your number into that. Another thing, I hand wrote onto this at the end after reviewing it before I made this video. My cost of living was much lower than these numbers when I bought my first house. When I bought my first house, I was just a single gentleman, free as a bird, and my costs were much lower. I didn't care about a lot of this stuff. I didn't have a lot of these costs. So that's why I'm saying a lot of these numbers. This is just to show you that me living, I think, a very normal lifestyle, but it's a lifestyle of delayed gratification, not buying everything I want, and but having very comfortable stuff in the scheme of things. We live much better than kings did not that long ago. So, I'm sitting down in my nice cold basement right now enjoying the air conditioner with a lamp, and all I have to do is twist the knob to make a light turn on. And I'm going to blast it out over a fiber optic cable into all of y'all's computers. I mean, how easy do you want it? Let me move on before I get too distracted. Hold on. Let me find my numbers. There it is. So, if you add the cost of an average mortgage and the cost of an average car payment to this, you'll end up with a $3,490 a month cost of living. That equals $41,800. Now let's go back to that average or median income of $60,000. So you're starting to see a difference here. The difference in that was, in my case, $22,680 by cost of living, with a U.S. median income of $60,000. So that is 37,320, I think, somewhere around there. So that's some decent disposable income that can go towards real estate. But just adding that having to pay for where you live every single month and pay for a car payment dropped it to 8,200. Is that right? The difference between 41,800 and about 60,000 being that median income. That is a lot less money. If you just dropped a car payment, my truck, for example, it's a year 2000 Silverado. Works great for everything that I do. Bought it with 200-some thousand miles on it. Paid $2,000 for it. Spent $1,000 getting it straightened out, and I drive it. I'm not going to say a ton, but the thing works great. And if something happens to it, I'll fix it. But I don't have this ongoing obligation to pay that payment. It makes a huge difference. The example I'm going to use in this video is buying a house, and the payment on that house was $261. And again, the average car payment is $400 to $550. So at $550, I could be owner financing 2 houses, and somebody's just driving around in a car. Is it really worth it to you? A lot of things in life are just getting your priorities, deciding what your priorities are, and then doing whatever from there. The mortgage payment, that's a harder one. If you are a grown man with a wife and some children's, you're going to have a harder time convincing all of them to, live in a tent. So having a mortgage is a very normal thing. I'm not going to call that bad debt. If you can avoid it, that'd be great. That's one thing I get asked a lot in videos is why do people rent instead of buying? And then they will call somebody stupid for wasting money. But a lot of times the ownership versus renting is a big difference. Sometimes it's a lot cheaper to rent, or it's just not the appropriate time to rent. You might want to kind of stay a little fluid by being a renter. So what are other common monthly expenditures? High cost cell phone plans. Mine, again, for me and my wife, is under $60. I have friends that pay $100 a month for a single phone line because I don't know why. I just went to Walmart, I bought an iPhone, and I got that plan rolling, and it's 2 plans for $58. I do everything on it. Watch videos, watch Amazon Prime off of someone else's account. Other costs, credit card interest. So not just the payment you make. If you just go home and pay it, you don't have any interest, I guess. But a lot of people don't do that. They're buying things they don't have enough money for, so they're getting some real high interest on a credit card. So that's a big cost. Online streaming services. A lot of people got Netflix and all kinds of other things that they're paying for every month. And it's a lot of those little small costs really, really rack up. If you're paying $15 a month for this and that, $30 for this, and $75 for that per month for a bunch of extras, that's some major money. Again, keep in mind, $261 a month owner finance payment that I made and bought a house. So is it worth it, whatever it is that you feel you're enjoying? Restaurants. A lot of people blow money in restaurants eating out. Sometimes they can justify it, but it's a lot cheaper if you do it very simply from home, meaning just buy it from a grocery store. Health insurance. I'm bringing that up again. Health insurance, if you're paying for it yourself, is a whopper. Before all the affordable healthcare stuff, now this was a while ago, but my insurance for just me was $35 a month. Now for me, my wife, and a baby, it is $1,000 a month. It's just crazy, but affordable. So, I won't get into that. This is not the time nor the place. But depending on what and I am getting it through an exchange, so it's subsidized based on my income. So, that is going to vary wildly for some people. But again, if you're a person, most people just have this covered through their job. That's why they don't have an opinion on this type of stuff. Because it's just not in their minds affecting them personally. But if you are self-employed, because of the way it all worked out, it is a doozy. And if you're self-employed, you're paying self-employment tax. So you're getting hit really hard if you're self-employed. Again, not the time nor the place. So let's go into an example. I've got all those things covered, and I want to, it's time to buy a house, and I want to step into buying a house. I'm going to describe to you how I bought my second house, because I think that is a better example than the first. And my reason for telling you this is to basically make a point about that what I'm doing is available to anyone with a brain that wants to actually do something. No one met me. No one saw me. I barely talked to anyone on the phone to make this deal. So who I am made very little difference. And we're going to break this down afterwards into the steps that it took to actually do this. But I'm going to tell you the steps, and then I'm going to talk to you about the list of sort of what was required to do each one of these steps. First, I found it on Craigslist with a sale price of $15,000. This is a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. Center block built on a concrete slab. It is very simple, bulletproof house. It is known as the $15,000 house. I did one video on it, giving a tour of it, kind of just a quick cleanup before I rented it. And actually, the renter moved into that house today. It took a little bit to rent. It took a while to rent it for a couple different reasons. But yeah, you can go check out that house. Might put that link down in the description below if you're just curious. So I found it on Craigslist with a sale price of $15,000. I emailed the owner and asked if he would be willing to do owner financing. After some back and forth that took about 3 months, because at first he wasn't into it, then he was, we settled on a deal. He agreed to owner financing. About $1,300 of unpaid property taxes were due on this house. Stop for a moment. Unpaid property taxes have to be paid before you are able to convey the ownership of that house to a new owner. I negotiated for my down payment on the house to be equal to this amount, just to clear it up, so that it could be sold. Stop. I've told other people this before, and then they get confused thinking that I paid those back property taxes separate from the purchase price. But in this case, that was the minimum amount that needed to be in that transaction to pay those taxes to where it could convey. But that amount went towards the purchase price. Then the remaining amount became what I owner financed, also known as seller financing. I negotiated for my... I'm going to read that sentence again just to keep rolling better. I negotiated my down payment on the house to be equal to this amount, $1,300, just to clear it up so that the house could be sold. This left $13,500, which was owner financed over a course of 5 years, or 60 payments. Including interest, my payment was about $261 a month. I believe it was $261.17. I spent about $3,000 preparing the house for rental using a bunch of junky borrowed tools and a Honda Accord station wagon. It took me as long as it took me. Once repairs were complete, I listed the house on Craigslist in the rental section for $500. I handled everything myself, from showing the house, going over income, made the lease, and collected the rent. The end. So that's the story of how I bought the first house. Now, it's more interesting than that, and I cover that deal in my book. Again, a link in the description below. But I want to do an experiment with y'all. I want you to participate with this. Let's do an experiment. Throughout me describing this deal, how many of you thought of reasons that you could not do what I did? Go ahead and raise your hand. Raise it. That is the foundation that I was referring to when I mentioned attitude. Did I even say that in the beginning of the video? I don't think I did. Basically, in the beginning of the video, what I was supposed to say was that if you used building a house as a metaphor for, doing what I'm doing, the foundation of everything that I do, I think, is attitude. Now, granted, when I'm watching these videos, I'm trying to, do a decent job in front of the camera. Some days I spend the whole day mad and bummed out and grumpy and, making snarky comments to my wife. So don't think that I'm always this little chipper person that you see in the video. But the underlying attitude of glass, half full, or just not being somebody who gives in to, this is too hard. Just somebody who can move forward. That's what I'm saying when I say the foundation. So, that is the foundation I was referring to. Y'all still have your hands raised that had the bad attitude about thinking about all the stuff that you are getting in your way? If you did not raise your hand, then all you need to do, the only thing you need to do is to take action. And it is that simple. If you did not raise your hand, guess what? All you need to do is to take action. And it is also that simple. You just might not enjoy the process as much. Sorry about how that was so read out, but this is how I'm going to try to stay on task. So all I'm saying with that is that whether or not you have a good attitude or a bad attitude, it doesn't change anything. You just need to take action. All right. But again, if you have a bad attitude, you're not going to enjoy it as much. It's already going to be hard enough. And when I say not enjoy it as much, it doesn't mean I enjoy it. I have a decently good attitude, but I'm also this very, I got $1 million worth of life insurance. That's not somebody who's looking at things too brightly. I acknowledge what is out there and what can happen and how hard things can be, and that there is a lot of stuff in your way. But it's sort of the attitude behind that attitude, I think, that is what's going to make you the kind of person who's either going to do something or not going to do something. Okay, now let's break down the example that I just told you into what is required and how I was able to accomplish this. And I'm literally going to break this down into steps. There's two things. First off, these are not considered step one. There's 8 steps in this. The first requirement is you have to have the desire. So you got to have the want to. The second requirement, I had to take action. That's all anything takes. You need to want it and you need to do it. It is that simple. My grandmother is always telling me, my grandmother pats me on the back, metaphorically speaking, constantly is saying nice things to me anytime I talk to her if she asks me what I'm up to. And she said, you're not only do you want to do it, she said, you're one of the people who actually do it. She said it to me 100 times. It never gets old. So step one, start looking. I used now I'm making a point here, so keep that in mind as this sounds kind of like individual statements. Start looking. I used an outdated laptop on borrowed internet. Craigslist is free to use and there for everyone. You just need to know it is there and be able to read. I've just told you it's there, and most likely you can read. Second step, see opportunity. I saw the listing and its price caught my eye. This house is in the city that I live, so I knew that its address meant it would be an acceptable rental. Acceptable being the key word. And it is. It's an acceptable rental. It's nothing perfect. It's not bad. It's just acceptable for where it is. And beggars can't be choosers, so to me, overall, it looked like a decent opportunity. Third step, I emailed the owner. This required me to have a computer, a phone, etc., and to have an email account. Setting up an email is free and easy as long as you can read. In my email, I did not use any fancy tactics. I simply explained that I was interested in buying the house, but did not have enough money to pay all cash, but did have the income to make payments. A lot of people think that I'm some sort of silver-tongued devil and I just can come up with all this crazy stuff to say to somebody, and I have gotten pretty good at it, but most times it's straight talk that people respond to. I can't stand it when people beat around the bush. I got a good example that I may tell you one day, although that I think maybe the person I talk to maybe watches my videos, about just unclear, excessive communication that never gets to the point. And it would be so easy to get to the point. And even more so, it's almost like it's distracting from the point. So don't try to oversell it or undersell it. Just get to the point with somebody. Use full sentences, but don't go on and on. Now, these videos, I go on and on. I go on and on a lot of other times, but do keep in mind that I got to watch this camera in case this thing turns off. I might have to restart this. Okay. Fourth step, negotiations. Just more emailing and some Googling for answers to questions that I came up with. Once finalized, I wrote up a simple contract based off of one that I found on Google Images. I just Googled it and clicked images and then just looked at a contract and found the simplest one and based it off that. If you're unsure, have a real estate attorney make up the simple contract. It's no big deal. But you could also just write it out real simple by hand on a piece of paper, get that, take it to the real estate agent. He'll write it up, then have that person sign it again, take it back to him. Fifth step, the closing process. I used a local closing agency to handle the sale. My only responsibility was showing up with the down payment at the time of the signing of the documents required to make the whole sale go through. Sixth step, money. This is the topic of the money. From the time I first asked about the house, I knew that it would cost money, so I started working on that before the contract was even signed. I don't remember where each dollar came from, but it was only $1,300 plus the closing cost. The total amount I needed was about $2,300. The closing date was 30 to 45 days from the time the contract was signed, but I started working on the money a month or two before that. My income at the time was selling farm tables, watercolor paintings. Just those two things. I had not started renting my first house yet, and had not started my first YouTube channel, so I had no other sources of income at that time. I get asked a lot about where to get money. You get it the same as everyone else that doesn't have enough to do what they do. Get a job or sell a product or a service. Seventh step, fix house. This is a mix of money and labor. I worked on the house at a pace I could pay for the materials. I basically went back and forth between making money and working on the house. It takes as long as it takes. So I'm making a point there that it just takes as long as it takes. I heard something recently and it was said that there's no unreasonable goals, only unreasonable deadlines. So once you get the house and you've bought it cash, yes, you're going to have property taxes and insurance, but most likely they won't be too high if you're buying something really cheap. And it's just what it just is going to take. It's going to cost whatever it costs. It's going to take whatever it takes. When you're working in the bottom of the barrel type stuff like I've kind of started out doing, just keep on rolling. Don't nitpick everything. As far as doing the work, everything, even complicated tasks, are just a bunch of simple steps. With the internet, you can look up how to do anything. You have no excuse in this age of information. When it comes to acquiring tools, only buy the tools you need. That's how you know which ones are necessary. People ask me all the time, what tools do I need to do this? Start working on the house and buy them as you need them. I started borrowing most of the tools I needed, along with a few that I had. When I started buying tools, all of them were cheap tools, mostly from Harbor Freight. Not having what you need will not stop you from almost anything in life. It will just determine how long it takes to complete the task. Need a tool? Make money, buy a tool, do the work. Repeat. Eighth step, the house is finished. Listed on Craigslist. Again, you need internet access. It's free at pretty much every business, like McDonald's or wherever. Everywhere's got internet now. Pull into anybody's parking lot and there's internet being streamed out into the parking lot. Renting a house is simple as just meeting with people and having a person you choose sign a lease and collecting the first month's rent, as well as a security deposit. My suggestion is to just use a property manager. It will be one less aspect for you to handle, and they will do a better job at it than you do. It will allow you to use your time in a much more lucrative manner versus the amount of money you will save doing the managing yourself. I hope my reading is decent. Might sound a little bit funny having it read, but I think it will keep it on task. I'm also looking at the viewfinder every once in a while. I find that very annoying in videos when people do it, but I don't want this thing to stop filming and throw me off too much, so I'll have to restart it if it does. Okay, so there it is. You have your basic level income, and you've got that taken care of, and I just laid out exactly what it is you need to do to get that house. There's nothing in that was complicated. You just do those things. And in a lot of cases, in many places, not everywhere, you'll be able to do it for a lot less money than you think. So once you own that house, what is the cost of ownership of that investment property? You've got the purchase price. That can be the down payment. Purchase price. And in that, I'm saying that's going to be the down payment, monthly payments, or if it's an all-cash payment. So if you want to think of that monthly, you could average it out and then start saving for that purpose, knowing that you're going to buy something at a certain given time. So for me, again, it was coming up with that $1,300 one time and then $261 a month. The insurance policy on that house is $250 a year. The property taxes, $325 a year. The management fees are 10% of the gross rent. It's currently rented for $600, so that's $60 a month goes to that. Maintenance, I say it's hard to say. Sometimes it's zero, as much as a couple $100 a year for this house. It's very low maintenance. And then income tax. It's whatever your whatever tax brackets you fall into after deductions and depreciation. So certain types of maintenance can be immediately deducted, and then the overall value of the house is depreciated over a schedule. So, again, we've got that basic income is formed to live your normal life, and then you've bought your house and you've got these costs. So my average monthly income in real estate, this is for me to buy a house and renovate houses at the pace that I do, average amount that I buy houses for. My average amount that I've bought houses for, which has ranged from $5,000 to $15,000. So the average of all mine, this is average, actually adding them up and dividing it, because this is, all my numbers, so it's okay to do an average, plus an average of a $15,000 renovation doing one house a year. This comes up to $2,000 a month. So I spend about $2,000 a month to do what you see me doing in my YouTube videos renovating houses. So what's that come out to? We're getting down to the meat of this whole thing. Or I think we've been chewing on the meat. So I'm spending $1,890 a month just for personal costs of living. So I'm spending $2,800, $3,000, under $4,000 a month to, you see that? I couldn't even do that math there, yet I still do this stuff. You do not need to be even what I would consider all that smart to do this. I'm glad I mess up. Anytime people start calling me an idiot, I think it's the perfect thing to do. I'm troll proof on the internet because I'm still doing whatever I do despite how dumb I am according to everybody else. That's one thing. I get a lot of people that say, why do you get so defensive of when things happen? I use them as topics to explain things, but I think that the trolling, or not even trolling, just the actual comments where people question how I do things, they're perfect. Because, and I may have said this before, but it's like, even when I'm doing it wrong, I'm still winning. And I don't say that to sound, cocky or anything like that, but it's just the way it is with this stuff. It's so foolproof in many ways, and it's mistake proof. And people say, but what if this happens? And what if this happens? I don't know. Person still pays me the rent. If you did something in a house and it wasn't quite right and it pops up as an issue when the tenant's there, you just fix it and move on. You keep collecting the rent. If you get a building permit on a house and it passes all the inspections, it's not going to be but so wrong. They can't catch every last little thing, but for the most part, it's going to be okay. And then you don't have to buy a house that is a wreck. Let me see if I was supposed to say anything else. I think that's pretty much it. So, again, that's my average. That is based, again, on an $8,000 average dollar house. So this is where you can start to figure out your numbers. Base it off mine, but then make adjustments for yours. And then you'll have to make adjustments for real estate costs in your area. But one thing I want to assure people, things don't cost as much as you think they cost in your area, no matter where you live. In my area, I've had people tell me, I don't know how many times, that you can't buy anything for less than $100,000 around here. Here I go. And they're talking about houses that you still need to renovate. I hear people all the time that are a little bit more in the know and not quite as ignorant to it. You can't even find a house around here for less than $50,000 that needs to be completely gutted. They're completely wrong. And I live in the kind of houses that I buy. A lot of people assume that because the house I own, and then the house they can see on either side of the house while I'm working on it, in a renovation video, that these houses are in some terrible neighborhoods. No, the houses are in rough condition, and that's what's determining the price. And then I just swing a good deal on it, even for the neighborhood. I mean, not even for the neighborhood, despite the neighborhood. So don't be turned off by what you don't know. You know, a lot of people, or what you do know is a better way of saying it. A lot of people get on Zillow and see some skewed numbers of how much things are worth and go, oh, there's no way I can negotiate the price down that far past how much these places are worth. Or, you know, you do not know until you get out there and actually try it and do some stuff. And even then, you're not going to fully know. You know, when I bought my first house and the whole thing, you know, came out to where I only paid $5,000 for it in the end, I couldn't believe it. And I said, I'm never going to be able to reproduce this again. It was this fluke, you know. It was really supposed to be 20, but it turned out to be 5 just because of some goofy nonsense. So I was like, you know, the 20,000 is probably as low as it's going to get. And then, you know, at $20,000 I haven't paid that much for any house. You know, $15,000 was the most, but that was this one through owner financing. So I look at it as I've had no super big significant cost for the upside. The other thing to mention, if you don't think that you can renovate houses as cheaply as I do because I do it myself, keep in mind how much time I use of my own time doing this. That, in my mind, is costly. Not financially costly, maybe, but it could be. You know, I didn't make money during that time, although I do make videos. But for me, I guess that would be my reason. You know, people start hounding me. I'm going, well, I do make my videos to show y'all what it takes. So, you know, that is one of my reasons for doing it the way I do it. And for doing it for as long as I've been doing it. But coming up soon, really starting today, I've started, you know, making a master plan of how I want to start doing things differently. I've got to start hiring out stuff. It's just not the good fit anymore, but that's a good thing. I just got caught up in playing my own character, I think, for a couple years, which to me means, you know, slap on the suspenders and just do it all yourself. And I'm past that. I'm at a point financially where I can start to use some of that money to make this whole process easier. And honestly, I think in spending money, I'll make more money. You know, a lot of times people think that, you know, saving money can cost you a lot, basically. And I think in a way it probably has. I went too far with it. I went 2 houses past it, basically. So that's it. Thank you all for watching. I truly hope this video was helpful. It took me a while to put all this together and to really think about it and try as careful as I could to give it to you accurately. Of course, I'm sure I'm leaving something out, but again, add it in. You know, if you enjoyed the video, it's a video for you. If you didn't enjoy the video, maybe think about why you didn't enjoy it. And that might just be that you're getting hung up on something that's just in your head, probably. So check out my other videos. There'll be some links in the description, including the one about my book. And then suggested videos at the end of this one. Also, check out my other channel, The Homestead Craftsman. Make stuff. And then I've got Homemade Home, where I fix houses. Then I've got this one, again, name of it, I don't know if I mentioned it yet. Common Sense, spelled C-E-N-T-S. Play on words. Is that it? Nope, Square Inch, the other one on tiny houses. And all these channels they're active. They're all active right now, but I just, you know, it's a little slow getting videos out. Got a lot of stuff going on. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.